Breaking news, everyone. So we recorded this episode already, and at the time, 2 days ago, we only had the dev blog which discussed the upcoming weapon changes. But now, today, April 26th, we have the actual numbers. So we're going to jump right into this big, massive PC 1.0 update number 12, which has changes to weapons, new vehicles, a new weapon, and a whole slew of other bug fixes.
So many.
So I've got John with me. Cody, unfortunately, is not here for this conversation, but John and I are going to break it down for all of you.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is a lot. I got to take a deep breath.
I know, right? Should we just start at the top?
Let's start at the top. Weapon and item balance.
Yeah, so there's an image just straight from it that just breaks down the base damage for all the weapons. In a lot of cases, they bump the damage up by a few points, especially among pistols and SMGs. And then there's a few DMRs. And then the ARs, they actually dropped most of the damage by 1 point, except on the AKM and the Groza.
Yeah.
Pretty big change, even though it's like small numbers.
Yeah. I mean, I expected the ARs to go down more. I think they only went down 1 point from 44 damage to 43. But there's a lot of other changes alongside this. It's not just about weapon damage.
Yeah, and as we were discussing, like, that's only base damage. So there's still modifiers on top of that change the damage.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this affects things a lot more than just 1 point. It's not going to mean, like, you know, you still kill in 2 headshots or whatever. Always, like, there's damage, like, variables, factors that go into it.
Mm-hmm. Right. The biggest change, I think, just on this chart, on the weapon damage chart, are the pistols. And some of these went up by quite a bit. So the P92 went from 30 to 35, which will shave 1 hit off your enemy to kill them, right? So 3, 6, it takes 3 hits instead of 4 to kill someone. That's a pretty big change. Just 5 points of damage extra per bullet.
Right.
The 1911 went from 36 to 41. The P18C, which is the Glock, went from 21 to 23, which is small. That's a very weak pistol, by the way. I didn't realize how weak it is, but it's offset by the massive fire speed. So that makes sense. The crappy little R1895 Erangel revolver went from 50 to 55. That's pretty powerful. I didn't realize it was as good as it was.
Yeah.
And the R45, which is the revolver on Miramar, went from 50 to 55 as well. So those two pistols are outputting the same amount of damage. Did not expect that, especially for how much better the R45 is on reload time.
I've used the R18 a bit recently in some, like, desperate situations, and it's pretty fun to use, and it does do quite a lot of damage. It's still tough, but, like, it's a fun gun to pick up. It's just super annoying to reload it.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Man, 2 hits is all you need with 0 armor on your opponent.
Yeah, and that's when you pick it up, right? Is the early game. No one's got anything. You just, like, pat.
Yeah, maybe I need to rethink it when I run into a warehouse and that's all there is and I get mad. Maybe I need to rethink that and get better with it because it sounds like it's pretty powerful.
I think it's still rough early game. It's only if you have, like, the house to yourself and somebody lands next door, because if 2 people are in a warehouse and one gets a shotgun and you get a revolver, like,
so screwed.
even though you're both, like, doing it 1 bullet at a time for, like, the 5 pump or whatever, you're so outmatched at that point. It's just stupid.
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, aside from those changes, all of the other weapon damage outputs are very small changes. A few points here, a few points there. I don't think there's really any other we need to call out here on this chart. So we could probably move right into the weapons section.
Yeah, I think this is actually, like, the chart is nice to look at and it's kind of interesting, but the meat of the patch is below it. So don't just go onto the news post and take a look at that all you loyal listeners.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to this patch.
It's almost misleading to post that first in a way because the big
Yeah,
changes are down here.
yeah, for sure.
So they rebalance the ARs so none is the objectively best. The power differential between each is now reduced, but each brings advantages to different situations. That's kind of a weird thing to say because literally they only knocked all of the ARs down by 1 point of damage from 44 to 43, and they left the AK and the Groza the same at 49.
Yeah, I don't know if they've actually done that to the same level that they're kind of saying, but
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out when we play a bit more. Because it seems like the adjustments that they've made to the 5.56 rifles are pretty much all the same. Like
Yeah.
looking at the listings, that there's no difference between them other than the differences that were already there. I don't know.
Yeah. I think what they're trying to say is because I read power differential between each now reduced. I read that as damage, right? Damage output.
Hmm.
But they might be thinking like overall the differences between them have been changed. I don't know. We'll see. SMGs, they've adjusted them to be more effective in short range combat, and we'll get into those changes in a second. And shotguns, they increase the overall damage and effective range, which is interesting because they actually reduced the damage in the chart, but they
Uh-huh.
did do something else to increase the damage, which is that they increased the limb shot modifier. So shooting the limb now does more damage. And this is what I'm hinting at later on in this episode. We're going to talk about the damage modifiers, where when you hit certain parts of the body, it does more or less damage, depending on the weapon used and obviously the area of the body.
Yeah.
So this, like we just saying, what we've been saying all along, this chart is not totally truthful. It's sort of misleading in a way because the damage changes based on where you hit the player.
Yeah, it's not the full picture that you're getting from this picture.
Exactly.
But yeah, the interesting thing is it says, like, we talked about the SMGs getting bumped up like a few points here and there, and they say adjusting them to be more effective in short range combat, and I think that makes sense. Like more damage up close, that works, and then maybe more damage drop off over distances, so that they're more viable in close range versus long range.
Yeah, so let's see what they did. So for SMGs, since we're on that topic, they increased the limb shot modifier, so that means they're going to do more damage
Great.
on the limbs. They increased the damage of the Uzi, UMP, and Vector,
Right.
and they decreased the vertical recoil on all of them, and decreased the recoil and scope sway when moving in ADS. So like you said here, this is going to encourage you to keep aiming down your sights as you're running and gunning. And they also increased the transition speed in ADS. That's, I think it would be the
ADS faster.
Yeah, it made it faster. Yeah, right. So this encourages more of that running and gunning.
It also, weirdly enough, it also encourages accuracy with it. So like while decrease recoil and scope sway when moving in ADS, so like you can be sidestepping and your gun won't bounce around as much, and you have less vertical recoil. So you can probably just like quick hit headshots with this because of the fast fire rate now.
Yeah.
It won't be bouncing up as much.
And if you miss your headshot and hit a limb, it's not as bad as it used to be. You'll still deal more damage than before.
Yeah, and you'll be able to like quick peek things. So like prepping for somebody who you think is going to peek you, you can just like tap right click, and then because of the ADS transition speed, you'll be able to do it really quickly and just kind of catch them off guard.
Right. Quick scope action.
Quick scope.
I dig these, man. I dig these changes to SMGs. And then your other changes that you have for your secondary, unless someone out there runs shotgun for primary, I don't think that's a thing. But if you do, we've got changes for you to increase the limb shot modifier, shooting limbs do more damage, decrease the damage of the over-under and the pump, reduce the pellet spread by about 25%. So this is almost like they've added a choke right off the bat, but you still have the choke attachment as well to add on to this 25%.
It's going to be like a slug with a choke.
Oh, yeah. That's a massive buff to the choke.
Yeah.
And speaking of them, they can now be attached to the sawed-off.
Cool.
That's neat.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the limb shot modifier. I've been
Yeah.
screwed over before by like all of like every single bullet pellet hits somebody in the arm like right up close as they're just peeking me around a corner, and it doesn't kill them.
Hmm.
So I'm curious if it will now or if it just does more damage, because it did like like 95 damage or something like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, hopefully like up close shotguns like point blank will pretty much kill wherever.
Yeah, especially with some of them hitting your limbs. I think that's gonna yield
Yeah.
you a more of a chance of a one hit.
Hmm.
But yeah, let's move on to ARs because this is kind of the thing that everyone is most interested in.
Right. So
Um,
we got the damage already from the chart.
yes, yeah, slightly decreased, but they increased the reload time by 30%. This is pretty massive, I think.
That's cool. I like that actually.
And this is for the SCAR, the M16, and M4. They
Hmm.
increased the reload time by just 10% for the AK.
Hmm.
They increased vertical and horizontal recoil for all ARs except the AK. So it looks like the AK is staying the same for now. If you're used to that weapon, you're not going to notice any changes.
Hmm.
There's no new attachments for it either, obviously. They decreased the recoil recovery rate for all ARs. So this means as you're firing full auto, it's going to take longer for your recoil to reset when you're done shooting.
Hmm.
They restricted the 8x and up scopes from being added to all ARs. This is a very positive change in my book. What do you think about this one? This is big.
Yeah, I like it. Um, I mean, I usually play with a 4X anyway,
Hmm.
so I think it's good.
Yeah, it takes away some of the what's the word
Hmm.
versatility. Yeah,
Utility.
of all of the M4 because we just talked about that later on in this episode. How it's you're a sniper in a pinch if you need it to be with that 8x
Hmm.
possibility on it. So
Yeah.
they took away that, which I think widens the gap between the ARs and the DMRs, which is what we're going to get to in a second.
Right, and they did that earlier with the bullet drop changes over 300 meters, but this is just kind of like nail in the coffin there.
For
Like,
sure.
do not use this as a sniper. There's no reason for you to do it.
Yeah. Now you have those segments of SMG up close, mid range AR, longer range, mid and longer range DMRs,
Hmm.
and they added new recoil animations for ARs and also DMRs.
So before we go on, I know this isn't in this section, but they actually listed out that they changed something related to the animations, the reloading.
Hmm.
I'm trying to find where this is, but basically the idea is your gun will be reloaded once the bullets are in the gun and not after the animation finishes totally.
Exactly. So it's at the very bottom of the list of bug fixes. Weapon
Hmm.
ammo is now counted as loaded when the magazine or bullet is inserted into the weapon rather when the animation finishes.
So this is a good change along with that 30% increased reload time. So now, even though it's 30% increase, you'll have a small decrease depending on the animation when the bullets actually get loaded.
Right. Right. Yeah, it gives almost like a little bit of more of a skill ceiling to something as silly as reloading. Like it's actually something that might help
Hmm.
you out. Depending on what the draw times are, like we were talking
Yeah.
today about Counter Strike, the QQ
Yes.
when
Yep.
you're shooting an op. So back in that day, it was you fire an op and it actually took you longer to watch the animation of the player cycling the bolt than it did to just switch to another weapon and then back to the op. So it could something might like this something might happen like this here, but
So the nice thing, like I've brought this up before, and I think even on the podcast, like I love in Counter-Strike when you're using your primary weapon, you run out of ammo and you have to switch to your secondary, in that case a pistol, to finish an enemy off.
mhm,
And increasing this reload time might actually make that viable. Whereas before, it made way more sense to reload your gun like at any point.
yep.
It was so quick to reload it in comparison to the to getting out a different gun.
Yep. On top of this, I think that might be what they're going for because they increase the damage output of pistols, and we know that
Right.
pistols are drawn out really fast.
Yeah.
So that is a really good point going forward. I'm going to think about that as I'm
Yeah.
playing if I need to reload quickly.
We'll have to try that,
Yeah.
test that out.
DMRs, lots of changes here. Increased head, body, and limb shot modifier for the DMR, so this is making them all around more powerful. What's weird is they don't give us those numbers. We don't have any percentages or a sort of image of what damage is dealt to what body part. We have this from the past, but they didn't include it in this update, which is interesting. They decreased the damage of the SKS, slightly increased the damage of the VSS and Mini 14, and then they also increased vertical and horizontal recoil for all of the DMRs, but decreased the recoil recovery rate and added new recoil animations.
Interesting.
So yeah, everything, recoil is going up across the board for every single weapon. And I think this is probably because of the new attachments they've added that will combat some of these recoil changes. So it's going to really encourage you to go after all of those attachments that you can find and continue looting. And maybe, I just made this connection, maybe that's a way to speed up the mid game, is if you keep people constantly looting instead of hunting each other.
Because you want, like, people will naturally go to where the big loot spots are to keep getting loot.
Yes.
That could be it.
Possible.
That's interesting. It's like a roundabout way of making fights.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to find out.
The other thing that I think is kind of weird but interesting is decreasing the damage of the SKS but bumping up the head, body, and limb shot modifier. So they're increasing the damage all around while still decreasing the damage of the SKS. So maybe it just like evens everything out a bit.
Yeah.
SKS is still pretty high up there, but
it is.
I don't know.
I think what they might be doing here with the SKS is nerfing it just a little bit from 57 to 53 damage to make room for this new weapon, which is the SLR, which is another 7.62 DMR that's recently added.
Right.
So that one comes in at 57. So before, you would have the SKS and the SLR doing the same amount of damage, essentially. 1 point difference. So maybe that's why they nerfed that, to slide in that new weapon. So other guns. They slightly increased the damage of the DP-28, which is the pan gun, and the M249 SAW, which is a care package only, that 100-round big machine gun. Increased the damage of those. Restricted the big scopes, 8x and above, from being put on those. Apparently you could do that. Never tried, but that they don't really belong there.
It was dropped with the M249, and it's like, great, not a sniper rifle, but a SAW with a freaking 8x on it. That's great.
Yeah, great. And then crossbow, which we talk about later in this episode. So we actually were wrong on our data here. We said that the crossbow reload speed was 3.5 seconds right now. It's actually 4. And they decreased it to 3.5. So what we said is right at the end, but previously it was higher.
Is it with the attachment that it was 3.5? Is that maybe where you got your?
Could be, yeah, that could be.
Let's just say you were right all along. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no one noticed. No one even uses the crossbow anyway, so no one cares. Weapon sway has been adjusted for all weapons, slightly increased the side-to-side movement. So sway is now more pronounced when holding your breath. So holding your breath isn't going to be that rock-steady animation that it was before. Weapon sway when moving is now also reduced by the cheek pad attachment. So this buffs the cheek pad just a little bit. And they also help you recover from weapon sway more quickly after moving.
What did it do before? I thought that's what the cheek pad did.
I thought so too, yeah. I think
it was...
Let me look real quick. I think it was
recoil. Because that would mean, like, basically the only good attachment previously on the Car 98 was the bullet loops. I guess that could be true. I don't know.
It decreased vertical recoil by 20% and weapon sway by 15%. It also sped up recoil recovering time by 20%.
Okay, so that doesn't matter, but it did reduce weapon sway.
Yep.
But this is also now when moving.
Yes.
Gotcha. So you can like sidestep with a sniper now.
Yeah, which is good because that's how I use it all the time. I shoot and then move immediately, or move, shoot, move.
Yeah. That or the lean out.
Yep. Yeah. That'll be better. So pretty much solidifies that I'm gonna take the cheek pad every time now, I think.
Dude, take both.
Take both.
Just quick switch it.
Pro strats.
I'm telling you, it's not hard, especially if you keep your inventory clean.
Yeah. I'm gonna try that. If I can find both in a game, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for that.
It's fun.
Frag grenades, big change here. Increased explosion damage, added new effects and animations. Yay.
That seems so strong.
It seems strong already.
Just right off
exactly.
the bat, like grenades were already pretty dang good, and
Mm-hmm.
now increasing the explosion damage.
Yeah. I always picked grenades up every single time I saw one, but now, I mean, even better. But
Well, now you're going to be limited because of the next change.
That's
or
true.
The change after that.
That's true. Yeah. So the grenade damage was greatly dependent on fall damage. So this is a really strange mechanic that I've never seen in any other game.
So weird.
And they took it out. So before, you noticed you could nade someone and then they would down and then like they would roller skate across the ground, just like slide out. It's because the nade was doing push damage and it would calculate fall damage to be added on top of the explosive damage. So they took out that aspect. Only explosion damage is now applied if you're hit by nade.
Makes sense.
I think that's good. I thought it was always strange how it pushed you out of cover.
I kind of liked that effect. However, it felt really janky and badly implemented.
Very janky.
Like it's kind of cool to have like basically a pushback grenade.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was the like. It felt more like a bug when you got down from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
But this next change, the weight change for these grenades is pretty interesting because, like you said, used to pick up frag grenade whenever you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I would usually carry like at least one, but I would pick up 2, 3.
Yep.
And keep them with me. I don't know if I'm gonna have the space for it because they increased the frag grenade from 12 to 18.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's what is that, 2/3 or whatever? Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Something like that.
So that's pretty big. You're not gonna carry nearly as many as before, and you're gonna wonder where all your backpack space went if you start picking up nades
by half. That's what it. Because it
half
bumps
6,
up by
right?
6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's a big change.
Yep.
They decreased the rest of the grenades by 2.
Yep.
Molotov 18 to 16, smoke 16 to 14, stun 14 to 12.
Yeah. This is just gonna free up that space for more bullets because you always got to have 300 spare, you know.
So I didn't when smoke grenades were bad, I stopped picking them up, and I had some bad experiences with stun grenades when there were cheaters in the game. I would stun somebody and then I would just get 2-shot, like immediately just 2-tap me in the face, like when they turn around a corner blind and then just like nail me in the head.
Yeah.
So this might actually make me try to carry these again.
Nice. Yeah, I dig it.
I can fit them.
I've never really used a stun grenade, but maybe I will.
It's pretty funny, like when you blind somebody. I kind of wish that it was like in CS:GO where they have like that blind animation where they throw their hand over the
put
face.
their hand up. Yeah.
But yeah, it's still it's fun to use.
I just use it to troll Cody.
Yeah. In this game, for anyone listening, stun grenades work on a proximity basis, not as a looking. So if you're like, I don't know, like 20 feet away or something like that, the stun grenade won't blind you at all. But if it lands like right on top of you, even behind you, it'll
I had no idea. I'd never tried. I've always looked away instinctively. I didn't know that.
I know, right?
Look at that.
But yeah,
John makes a great point. Character movement. So we've got a couple more sections. We're going to speed through some of these because there's stuff that's not quite as cool. But here they've decreased the movement speed when holding SRs, LMGs, and shotguns. Decrease the movement speed. I don't know if I said increase there. Your equipped weapon affects both your sprinting speed and your running speed. So they're going to slow you down if you have those bigger, more powerful weapons out. Mm-hmm. The first shot delay when your character is not sprinting has been removed.
Thank God.
Thank God.
That has actually screwed me over a couple of times.
Definitely. Chambering a new round in certain weapons, M24, Kar 98, pump shotgun, no longer limits you to walking speed while aiming down sights. This is something you said you didn't notice, I think? Or was that Cody?
It was that I was confused by the wording. I thought you could reload while running and aiming down sights, which I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. So this is a good change. I've noticed this when I'm shooting and then trying to move, but then also trying to reload. It really slows you down.
Yeah. As soon as you take that shot, it just drops your movement speed. But now you'll be able to.
Yep. I like that change quite a bit. The amount your camera shakes after being shot, aim punch, now depends on the amount of damage received. So you're not going to get as high of a aim punch if you get hit with a pistol, like a Glock, which only deals 23. So item balance. We have a big section on this. Let's not get into it too heavily now, but we do later when we talk about level 3 helmets can only spawn in care packages now. And one is guaranteed to be in every package. That's new. I didn't notice that the first time I read this. Can't find them in the world. So listen on a little bit more and you'll hear our thoughts on that. SR quick draw mags and SR extended quick draw mags are now spawn only in care packages. What about SR extended? They don't say that. They say quick draw, extended quick draw. That's probably all of them. Let's be real. We reduced the spawn rate of AR extended quick draw, so they're trying to nerf that a little bit. DMRs now use AR attachments along with SR attachments. This is fascinating to me. This is weird.
Yeah.
Adrenaline syringes now spawn rarely alongside normal loot in the game world, and the casting time of those has been dropped 2 seconds down to 6.
Yeah, adrenaline syringe isn't the strongest thing. Like when you get it, you're not like, "Ooh, this is gonna save my life." It's kind of like, "Ooh, fun."
Yeah.
But that sounds fun. Like you can bump up your running speed immediately. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
For sure.
The DMRs using AR attachments as well as SR attachments seems very strange. It feels weird to put in like an AR extended mag into like an SKS. So
Yeah.
I'm curious what that'll look like in the game, and like I'm sure it'll be nice, especially with the SR mags now in the care packages instead.
Yeah, initially I read this as a buff to DMRs, but it's almost like it's a buff to both, really, because now you don't have to find a distinct AR mag if you happen across an SR or other attachment that is only fitted currently for SRs. You can throw it on your AR, so it's kind of cool. I dig it.
Yeah, and we've talked about how like extended quick draw is the best magazine, but now it's a reduced spawn rate, so like you're kind of going to want to choose between extended or quick draw, which I think there's a pretty obvious choice.
Yep.
In most instances.
Yep. So gameplay, new weapon, new vehicle from Miramar, ton of weapon attachments. Let's jump right into those. The SLR, which we mentioned earlier, is a new DMR, and I really wish this was the AR that I was hoping for. I was hoping for an M4 counterpart that takes 7.62, but nope, we get another DMR, 10 rounds per mag, 20 rounds extended. Slightly more powerful than the SKS. It does 58 damage, and the SKS now does 53. And it has more recoil than the SKS, so recoil control is the key to using the SLR effectively. And for that reason, I might actually prefer an SKS because I have the hardest time with DMR recoil, especially when you put like an 8X on it.
I think it'll be better with the attachments that you can now put on everything.
That's true. I don't know what attachments this makes. It's kind of hard to see what it takes.
That's true. We don't know yet, but I assume that it would be similar to the SKS. It sounds like it's just replacing the SKS. That's what it seems like. Is like they nerfed the SKS and then they added this new gun that replaces it.
Yep. And the good thing is this is a normal world spawn. It is not a care package only. Thank God. Thank you. Yeah. We got a new vehicle, a classic muscle car called the Murado. It's only specific to Miramar. It can be found in downtown areas and city streets. It's just a fast way to move along the streets. So it's a counterpart to the pickup, which is great for off-road, and the bus is slow but also powerful but ineffective off-road. And then you also have the buggy, which is kind of between the two. It's kind of between the pickup truck and this new car, where it's a little bit slower, but this is going to be a way to speed around pretty quickly. I dig it. So new attachments. This is where things get kind of complicated with grips, and I don't really know like how this is going to affect the game because it's going to take me a little while to figure out like what's the best option. Yeah. And there's a lot of information here.
Yeah.
So the first one is pretty easy to understand. It's a duck bill, which is a new attachment for shotguns. It reduces the vertical pellet spread, but increases the horizontal. So this is just like a duck bill look. So you're going to fan out horizontally, but less vertically. So this could be good if you have multiple enemies right next to each other. You can take out two at once, maybe, if you're real good.
Could be pretty funny. Yeah.
And you can put this on the pump and the S12K, which is the auto shotty. Interestingly, you cannot put this on the over-under.
Mm.
So just be aware of that one.
Or the Sonos.
Or the Sonoff. Yeah, good point. I forgot about that. The light grip, it reduces recoil recovery time, but increases vertical and horizontal recoil. So here is where the first sign of them giving you options, right? So if you are really good at controlling your vertical and horizontal recoil, but want to be able to recover faster from your bursts, this might be the one you go with. And you can put this on everything: ARs, SMGs, DMRs.
So just to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly and that we're explaining it right, the recoil recovery would be like when your bullet hit matches where your sight is.
Correct.
So what this means is even though your gun is going to bounce up and down, left and right or whatever, it will be accurate to where the sight is when you fire more quickly than if you were using a different grip.
Right. So this is good if you just burst, like maybe you hold down auto fire and like pull down, burst to one guy and then flip over to the other guy. This is might be something you put on when you're at close range, and so you can recover a little bit faster. So you know that as you flip over to that second guy, your recoil will be reset in time for your bullets to go where you're actually pointing. So this could be good for that kind of play style. And then on the other hand, we have the thumb grip. So this reduces vertical recoil, but increases horizontal recoil, and it also increases the recovery time. So this might be good for vertical recoil reduction, which could be good for like semi-auto fire, because
DMRs.
Yeah, you're not going to use DMRs rapid firing. Usually you can, but I would probably put this because it helps with your vertical recoil. I usually can control the horizontal when I'm single tapping. This is called the thumb grip, and it's attachable to everything as well: AR, SMG, DMR. And then we also have the half grip. So now we have light grip, thumb grip, half grip, vertical grip, horizontal grip in the world. So there's a lot.
Angled.
And angled, yeah, not horizontal. There's a lot here. So the half grip, the last one they added, it reduces vertical and horizontal recoil, and also reduces recoil recovery time. So this is the best one. This is the one that you get. There's no other. No other counterpart to this.
We don't know like exactly the stats for this, but like worded, it is the best one. However, it might be.
Good point.
I think this would still be worse than maybe the vertical or the angled.
Yeah, and maybe like you said here, it's like this one maybe reduces the recoil just a little bit. Versus for both versus like the thumb grip, you're going to reduce vertical a lot but increase horizontal. So it might be like a trade-off where it actually makes sense sometimes to get the light grip or get the thumb grip over the half grip.
Basically, I think the key is to try them out and see what works with each gun, and specifically use it with like a gun that you're comfortable with, or keep the variables to a minimum, right? Like if you're trying the half grip on a SCAR, don't put the light grip on the like SKS and be like, what's going on?
Right. Yeah, we need some more numbers here. It's also just feel it out, play with it.
Yeah.
Like you said. Scopes. We have 2 new scopes, which I'm surprised about. I really didn't expect this.
Yeah.
We've got a 3X, which has a fixed magnification of 3X, and it's a common world drop, probably similar to the 2X.
Sure.
And then we have the 6X. So this scope has a variable 3x to 2x, or 3x up to 6x magnification, and it's a rare spawn. So these ones can go on the ARs, but they took out the 8x, so now we have the 3 and the 6 in its place.
Yeah. 6 is still pretty high.
6 is good, yeah.
Yeah.
Because 4 is good. 4 is actually a pretty decent zoom, so 6 is quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 should get you by on that 300 meter bullet drop area. It might be a little tough to hit some of those shots, but like 150 200 you'll be right in there with 4, so 6 should cover you.
Yeah, I always thought that there should be some kind of gap between the 3 and the 2x currently and the 4x that needed to be filled. I'm glad that they added the 3. I think that serves a good purpose.
I feel like, well, yeah, that's true. With the 2x, I feel like I'm just as accurate with a red dot.
Yeah.
From long range. However, I'm worse close range with the 2x.
Yep. The thing with the
So
red dot, because you can hold your breath and zoom in a little bit more, it basically is the same as the 2x. Like a
it's
red
like
dot and a 2x are
1.8.
about the same.
I think the number is 1.8 if you 2x and zoom in, or maybe it's 1.5.
Oh wow, yeah. So there you go. It's pretty close.
It's pretty close to a 2x.
Hmm.
But again, that's only when you're holding your breath. But it
Yep,
still is. It works pretty freaking well.
for
This
sure.
next change is pretty cool that you can change on the scopes that don't do scope zeroing. You can change the reticle style and color
Hmm.
by using page up, page down.
Yep. Yep.
So that's
pretty
red
cool.
dot, hollow, and 2x.
Yeah, it's not just the brightness anymore. It's actually the color and style, which is cool. It's not something you have to go into your settings for. You can do it on the fly. So I dig that.
It will be kind of annoying to have to do that. Like if you prefer one of these other styles,
Yeah,
you pick up a red dot and you're like about to get into a fight and you have to just like spam page up or whatever.
that's a good point.
That'll be a little annoying. I like it as a setting. It's cool that it's variable. Like maybe you like the round on a 3x or whatever. I don't know, but
Mhm. Maybe they can
2x
set it in your settings so you have a default that it always
that
is.
would be nice.
That'd be sweet. And I wonder if you kill someone, do you pick up their weapon and it has what they used, or is it remembering
Probably.
what you had?
No, it's probably well. I guess it depends on if it was an internal setting, but
Yeah,
I would guess that it's whatever they were using.
yeah, makes sense.
I think we can go quickly through the boat and swimming. It's just
Yeah,
basically like you're not as protected underwater, and you can't stay underwater as long.
yeah, and this doesn't really affect us. I think this might have been a problem more in the pro scene.
Hmm.
It's just discouraging people from camping in the water.
The nice thing, boats now sink when destroyed. Like we have seen teams that like sit behind a destroyed boat, and they basically have full cover.
Yep, yep, that's a good change.
Hmm.
Map selection is now available. We talked about this quite a bit in this episode, so you'll hear some more talks about that. It's you pick the map you want, and if you don't select both, you just get the one that you wanted. That's awesome. Settings, very small things. You can adjust the vertical mouse sensitivity. You couldn't do this before, so I think there was some weird out of sync. Like your horizontal would be more or less than your vertical, so they're making it so you can adjust both now. That's good.
Wow.
Let's see, world. They added some more things on Miramar. The size of the oasis, which was a new spot they added, was increased, and they added more buildings nearby.
That was a weirdly hot drop,
It was, and I wonder if
and
that was just
like
because it was
no loot.
new, but I don't know.
I think so, but now they're kind of making it better to drop there as a hot drop, hopefully, with a bigger size and more buildings.
Hmm. They reduced the number of buildings in some city areas to cut down on excessive density. We noticed this in El Pozo, our hot location there where we would drop at that warehouse and move into the small shacks is now
Yeah.
no longer a thing. Unfortunately, they removed all of those buildings.
We got a hot tip from Crander that it was demolished.
Yeah, yeah, that's really a bummer. I'm not a fan
Yeah,
of
that
that.
was
We
a
like
nice
that
place.
spot.
I love like Pozo is like my favorite place to drop on Miramar.
Yeah,
So I'm curious what this will do for me and my like for Miramar.
yeah. Remove it always from the map selection. They reduce some excessive cover points inside various cities. We've seen this, the rocks and boxes and stuff. It makes it easier to drive through. I think cover was good, but you could also lose people because people blend into the cover so well. So I'm okay with that, cleaning up
Yeah.
a little bit.
You have to be smarter about your positioning rather than just
Yes.
be anywhere you want.
Yes, exactly. That's a very good point. We should. You have so many good points. We should maybe make a segment out of that. I think so.
Nah, I don't want to.
Okay. We've added more objects like trees and rocks throughout the map to provide some additional options for cover in wide open spaces. So they're reducing some of the cover in the cities, adding some in the wide open spaces.
Makes
This is
sense.
good for Miramar.
I like that.
And then interiors of buildings have been simplified.
I like that too. Like it was really cool to come into Miramar and all the assets have been custom made and have some in-depth assets, right? Some buildings that are pretty crazy, but it makes it hard to loot, to find people, to get to your teammate who's downed and about to get murdered by another enemy or something.
Yeah. Now that we get the hang of the buildings, it made it a little bit better, but still, there's a lot of buildings in
takes a long
Miramar that I
time.
don't know how to navigate very well.
That and just like going up to a floor in a building just takes so long because you have to. Usually the staircase is on the other side of the building, right?
Yeah, right.
Wherever
Always.
side you're on.
It's
Yeah.
always on the other side.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was it pretty much for this patch. We've got a couple more bug fixes. I wanted to highlight a few. There's not many that are game changing. They reduce some overly dramatic collision effects.
That's too bad.
Space shuttle takeoffs when the motorbike crashed into other vehicles. Yeah, that's sad. Bring it back. Let's see. Certain problematic terrain elements which cause weird collisions or movement on Erangel and Miramar have been fixed. This is probably when you're driving along and suddenly there's a 90-degree block chunk texture in front of you, maybe in the field, and you just crash into it.
Yeah, I was thinking that it was some of the like weird mountainscapes, like where we can see somebody's head perfectly and we shoot at them and then clip into the hill.
Yeah, it could be that
bullets.
Too. Hopefully it's both, honestly.
Hopefully it's both.
Because we've been screwed a couple times.
So annoying.
By both of those things.
Uh-huh.
Let's see what else we've got. They had a little fun with these. They said that the text on the ump skin from the Equinox crate was labeled as 45 ACP instead of 9mm. Thanks to the power of memes, this has been fixed. They're having some fun with the patch notes, which I like.
There is one that walking on wooden structures will no longer create bizarre or out of place footstep noises. This has actually happened to me, and I'm like, there's someone right next to me, and then it's just me walking. So this is nice. I like anything that fixes the sound because that's a really, really important aspect of the game to keep working.
Yes, especially coming from Counter-Strike where sound is everything in that game.
Yeah.
That's a big fix, big change.
And then the one that we highlighted earlier was the weapon ammo count as loaded.
Yep.
When the magazine or bullet is inserted in the weapon rather than when the animation finishes, which I am a huge fan of. I think that's going to be fun. I think it's going to make... I don't know if it will actually put animation canceling in the game, like if it'll be worth it, but it at least is nice. I have had some times recently, like loading an AK, where I listen to the noise and the noise clicks in, and then I switch weapons and then I'll go back to it, and I have only a few shots left.
Yep. And this is also helpful when you're opening doors and looting early game. You pick up that first weapon and you reload it, and then you're in front of a door, and then you open it, and then you didn't wait the half-second extra for animation to finish, and now your gun has no ammo and you have to do it again. So
yeah, I just log out of the game when that happens.
I just rage quit, uninstall, push my monitor. Yep. Yell at my dog. No. I don't even have a dog. So that's about it. This has been part 1 of 2 of episode 36, I believe. So this is that was a good 42 minutes of
Holy
talking.
Crap.
So this is going to be a really long episode. Hang in there, guys. It's going to be great for our audio listeners, I think, but we really wanted to get this stuff to you as fast as possible because this dropped this morning, and if we didn't record this, we would have been on old information, and we would have just been speculating about everything. Yeah, so we would have been way behind. You guys would not have had the up-to-date information, so I'm starving. I'm going to go cook dinner because it's waiting for me. So just stay tuned, and the rest of the episode will be right now.